2006 was one of the most fascinating years in gaming. While we were still waiting for the release of the Nintendo Wii and the PS3, the Xbox 360 had a whole year head start on the competition. This was also the year I happened to take a 5-year break from gaming, and I missed out on a lot of these gems that I had to rediscover later on in life. So in a sense, today's episode will be somewhat of a discovery session for us as well, so this should be fun.
And even though some of these may have been released later on PS3, they usually did not get trophy support, unlike the achievements on Xbox 360. The Wii would sometimes get a different variant of these games. So let's get nostalgic and take a closer look at some of those games that were released on the Xbox 360 in 2006.
So I have to admit, I've been incredibly excited to make this video ever since we made the launch titles on Xbox 360 video last year, because we were alluding to wanting to make a video about the early Xbox 360 titles, especially from 2006, because this was a whole year Xbox had to experiment and get gamers to buy this console. And you know, that's why we wanted to look at some of the games. And fear not, you'll probably tell us in the comments that we're missing some games, but we are going to make a second video about this because there's a lot of games that came out in 2006. However, we wanted to focus on the ones that were exclusive to the Xbox 360 at the time. So like we said, some of these games may have come out on the PS3 and even a variant on the Wii later on. But what we'll be looking at today are all games that were only on the Xbox 360 at the time. And as always, I have the lovely Scarole here who will be handling the physical media because you guys love physical media and so do we. Okay, so I guess there's no better place to start, or maybe there's a better place to start, but this is a bizarre one. I think you looked at me when I picked this one out, and you're just like, this is a strange game.
That is Bomberman Act 0.
So very different Bomberman games. Not that colorful little party game that you probably knew from before, but this was like a sci-fi maze, whatever this is. You know, I have to admit, I haven't fully dived into this game. So that's why we would love to hear from you guys in the comments, like if you've actually played this game. Because I know a lot of people have collected this game, but have you actually played Bomberman Act 0? One of the weirdest exclusives on the Xbox 360. But it was early 2006. It actually came out in Japan first, and then we got it over here as well later that year. But yeah, this was like they were trying to push this in Japan first, I guess, which is quite bizarre. But this does sound like a bizarre third-person maze bomber, which, as far as I understand, it does have the core Bomberman gameplay, but this looks way different.
Way different. Usually Bomberman is baby blue and pink with a little white ball on top of his head. Usually a very cute game, I would say. And this guy is not looking very cute.
I don't know what was going on at the time, but I guess Xbox Live or Xbox was trying to sell this one. And, you know, I don't quite know how it went that early on or how it was received in Japan. But, I mean, it's still Konami, so, you know, they were on board with this. Let's try to make a more adult type of Bomberman game. And, I mean, I used to love playing Bomberman. And I think even later on, we bought some Bomberman games on, like, Xbox One and stuff, you know. And they're, like, kind of like the classic. This one's like totally different, and you know, I can't say I've heard a lot of good things or a lot of bad things. This one just a game that kind of exists out there, and knowing that this was something that Xbox 360 jumped on before the PS3 and the Wii.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's how we start out today's episode, is with a very bizarre one, but I can almost guarantee you've seen this game in game stores, or you probably have picked it up just knowing that it's only on Xbox 360, but who actually played this game? And this one you have most likely heard about, you've probably seen it, and this is a very cheap game to add to your collection.
And that is Chromehounds.
And can you believe this is actually a From Software game?
Yeah, I don't remember that actually. I mean, I just think I focused too much on Sega at the time. Well,
that's the funny part about the From Software. Like now you kind of see it up front and center, but From Software tends to be like hidden on the back on those early, you know, OG Xbox 360 games. But, you know, this was like a tactical mech shooter. It wasn't like a fast-paced shooter. And, you know, which is kind of interesting because I think Sega is very into the mech shooters for some reason. I've played a lot of Sega games that have mechs in them. But this is oddly enough a game that I think I was talking to someone on Instagram or TikTok or something, and they mentioned this game out of nowhere. And they were like, I loved Chromehounds multiplayer and I played the heck out of this. And I was just like, that's the most random thing. And I love hearing stories like that. You know, that's usually what gets people going, is if you bring up old games like this, exclusives on a console, and they had great multiplayer support. But sadly, I mean, they've shut down all the multiplayer in this game, so I'm not quite sure what's left of this game, if it's even a single player experience. Was this mostly multiplayer? But again, another game that, you know, if you play this game, let us know. Like, this is an early game that I didn't get to experience at the time, and I still haven't experienced it because of that. But it sounds like an interesting one from what I've heard. And this next one, you probably haven't seen a whole lot of this special edition here. I don't know what to call this, like a special encasing on this game. Because the fact is, you heard about this game a lot a couple of years ago when the 360 was booming. Everyone was talking about the prices. But this particular one actually came out in Japan first. And that's why we're featuring it in this video.
That is Bullet Witch.
With this amazing, what did you call this? Like a wraparound case
this is
or cover?
Beautiful wraparound slip cover, yeah. I mean,
with the Bullet Witch.
It's gorgeous. You can see her gun here. I mean, what cool art, and so simplistic too. I love this one.
We did an early Xbox 360 video on our channel like a couple of years ago, and we talked about Bullet Witch, but I don't remember the lady's name now, but it was something that you wouldn't expect. But obviously this looks a little bit different than the global version of the game, which you have probably seen. Yeah, Bullet Witch came out in Japan first, and then a year later, so in 2007 sometime, it came out in North America and everywhere else. But yeah, this was something they were pushing to Japan first. And you know, this is a witch that's carrying a very large gun, and it's like a third-person shooter action game. And once again, we've actually been asked a lot of times on multiple platforms, you know, how do we keep our games so clean and tidy and stuff? And, you know, we give a lot of credit to the Japanese because they take such good care of their games. And when we went over there a few years ago, we noticed that they actually put their manuals in little plastic sleeves as well. We tend to just do it on our games. And just to kind of debunk that as well, like, we don't reseal our games. Like, we just put protective sleeves around them. And, you know, we recommend that collectors do the same. You know, it's not bizarre. It just seems like, you know, people over here don't understand what that is. But, like, just look at what the Japanese collectors and the game stores are doing. They're so immaculate. They keep everything in pristine condition. And, you know, really the only thing you have to worry about is something smelling a little bit like mold or like smoke damage or something like that. But otherwise, like, their games are pristine. And, you know, we took a page out of their book and decided to do the same.
Yeah, we were so excited when we saw this edition in Japan, and to also see it in this like perfect condition. I mean, this slipcover is like, yeah, immaculate. It's beautiful in mint condition. So super excited that we got to pick this one up. And yeah, absolutely. We were more inspired by how the Japanese stores were taking care of their games, and thought, why wouldn't we do the same for not every single game in our collection, but the ones that we really cherish, or the ones that we know are, you know, more expensive, and we want to make sure that they're just well taken care of, basically. You
know, since this is a more expensive game globally, you know, if you just want to have a collectible like this, you naturally would need to have a Japanese Xbox 360 to play this particular version. But, you know, it's a little bit cheaper, and the global version didn't get this cool little slip cover case thing. So, you know, we knew we had to add it to our collection when we saw this. This is easily one of the weirdest, we can probably call this like a trilogy that was released, but it wasn't released in the traditional sense, because you had to actually perform an action or buy something to get these games. And Scarole, you were there.
Yeah.
I used to eat the food, but I wasn't there at the time for some reason, and I wasn't aware of this, but this is a weird one.
All right, we've got Big Bumpin'. This is a Xbox Burger King collab game. And yes, you did have to go through the drive-thru. You had to order a meal in order to get these games. And I remember asking them when I ordered a meal if I could get all three of them with one meal. I thought that'd be easy. They said no. And I remember this so clearly because they made me go all the way around the drive-thru 3 times to get all 3 games.
But at least the burger meals back then were way cheaper than they are now. So now it's like, what do you have to pay for a meal? Now $12 to $15, which still will be amazing if you got a game these days with your meal for $15 even.
I wish they kept doing these things.
Yeah. But I mean, this is great though, because if you know anything about the Burger King games, obviously we'll show the other 2 as well. But it has that Xbox logo, like you said, because you could actually play this on the OG Xbox or on the 360. Naturally, the 360, when you pop it in there, it does have achievements and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But the fact that they manufactured this disc to work on both, and that's why they had that Xbox.
Different logo.
Xbox. Yeah. So this is pretty cool, though. I mean, I think this is, they're super cheap games, but they're almost like a must to have, So but we can put this one down, I guess, and then we can check out the other one here.
These are, nostalgic, a piece of 2006, and we have Pocket Bike Racer as well. I mean, I need to pop this game in again because I need to know what are the characters that you play in these games.
Well, I was going to say, sorry, I forgot to say Big Bumpin'. That's like a bumper car game. And then this is just a racer.
Like a little racer on pocket bikes. For whatever reason, they decided not motorcycles, not cars, not go-karts. No, we're doing pocket
I thought this was like, when I saw this, I thought this was something from like Dukes of Hazzard or like Charlie's Angels or something. And I was like, what is this?
I don't know what's up with this. Yeah, Charlie's Angels.
But you have the Burger King there too, so.
Yep. And, hey, we have a 48-hour trial in here too. We've got our 48-hour free Xbox Live Gold trial.
And the little ticket or whatever this is.
Yeah, we have,
actual
let's see.
Meal ticket.
Oh, give the gift of beef. We have the... We have, it looks like a credit card, but I think it's an advertisement for getting their gift cards is what it is. So very funny.
When was the last time you used that phrase or that slogan, give the gift of beef? I don't even know if they use that anymore, but...
Butcher Box should use that one.
Yeah, maybe. So that's Pocket Bike Racer, I guess. But yeah, really cool. You have the trial and stuff. They used to give out a lot of that stuff,
oh my gosh. So I used to love those little cards. Okay, and last we have Sneak King.
Is this supposed to be my favorite of the bunch?
I think this is the one that you should play because you love stealth games, and that's what this game is all about.
The sneaky, creepy Burger King sneaking around handing people hamburgers.
I mean, it can't be that bad.
I mean, it's probably the best concept, but I've heard some weird things about this game. So yeah, it's pretty wonky when it comes to the stealth, but just the fact that they even thought about this is crazy. Same thing. And I guess we had to make sure we had the beef slogan.
We want to make sure we had
that.
I mean, I like that every single one of them gets a manual. And didn't you watch like a documentary about this game?
There's a guy that wants to try to get every copy or something. I mean, he won't have this copy, but I don't know how he's going to find everything. But he had like thousands of Sneak King.
That is wild.
It's like the craziest thing. I don't know if he cared about the other 2 games. He's like, I need like thousands of Sneak King.
I don't know who needs thousands of this game.
I don't know.
He's hoarding them from everyone else.
Like Uncle Scrooge, like a money bin, but it's just Burger King Sneak King games in there. There's a lot of these games out there still. Like if you haven't added the 3 Burger King games, there they are. I'm not even sure if these came out in all countries, if this was just North America, but...
Good question.
It's absolutely worth having, though, because they're so ridiculous. They're super cheap, and I think the first 2 games there, they had some sort of multiplayer, too. Not quite Doritos Crash Course, but, it had multiplayer. I'm not sure Sneak King did, but...
I don't think that one's multiplayer.
Fascinating games, and we love talking about them. And this next one obviously went on to become a very famous series, and we have this one on OG Xbox, but they decided to do like a double pack bundle on 360, and that is...
Far Cry Instincts Predator.
Which includes the first Far Cry Instincts from OG Xbox, like I mentioned, with just better graphics and probably other things too that we can see on the back here. And then it has the new game, Far Cry Instincts Predator for the Xbox 360. And I think I read something on the back there about the what the improvements were.
Yeah, they have some breathtaking graphics, more aggressive AI, and fierce multiple enemy gunfights.
And if you played the early Far Cry games, they are a little bit rougher around the edges. But, some people see the charm in that too. So I think I remember playing the first Far Cry game on PC. Oh, look at that. It has like 2 manuals for...
Yeah, one's black and white, one's color. I wonder if that's like the whole Canadian release.
Might
oh,
be,
yeah,
yeah.
French. Yep.
It might be. They're like, we're trying to save money on the French side of it.
Oh, yeah, really?
The
right?
English side gets color.
Yeah, they get color.
Oh, yeah,
French
that's
gets black and white.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's obviously old school shooter, and it's all about stealth and exploring these beautiful islands and, you know, taking down enemies and all that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, it's one game that I've been wanting to go and play for the longest time, but I have to psych myself up for it and get ready, because it's been a while since I played the really early Far Cry games. But I remember when I tried to play it on PC back in the day, just like Crysis, my computer just wasn't good enough. So it's one of those things. But I do own all the Far Cry games, and I'd like to play Far Cry Classic, and then I'll probably move on to this one too. But, you know, love to hear from you guys if you've played this particular Far Cry, and how does this stack up with the other Far Cries after this. Then yep, would love to know.
It's always hard to go back to the older versions of games, because obviously they usually make quite a few improvements. So
Yeah,
I
but
totally get it.
This one has aggressive AI, so, you know, we love that.
Okay, you want to go back and experience that.
Yeah. The next one is another Japanese release before North America, or globally, I should say. So they were really pushing the RPGs and those styles of games in Japan in 2006. But you know more about these games than I do, so...
Yeah, I guess so. We have Culdcept SAGA, and I was very excited when we saw this one in Japan, because this is one that we wanted to add to the collection for sure. I think that Culdcept has a pretty interesting line of games, basically, because you have, there's one that is on the PS2. They have some on the 3DS. They have this one on the 360.
And then a game coming out on the Switch 2, right?
Yeah, there's a game coming out on the Switch 2.
Perfect for collectors, yeah.
So, pretty funny how these games kind of span across all the consoles.
And typically for these too, you have that registration card, and, you know, again, this might not be the most pristine copy we have from Japan, but at least it's in great condition, and it has everything that came in there.
Oh my gosh, hefty manual. You know this manual, it's explaining the entire game probably to you.
And those discs too, I think, are really cool. They have like kind of the metallic shine to them, and I don't know why they opted for that, but they just have a little bit of a different look to them than the regular 360 discs, I should say. But, you know, this one, like you said, we try our best to add any sort of like import like this, whether it's a stack in itself for achievements, or if it's just a different variant, then we absolutely want to add it to our collection. And this was a great one to see. And you played a little bit of this one. It's kind of like a Monopoly collectible card game.
One of those collectible card games, which seem to be making a little bit of a comeback lately as well. So, well, and also with them bringing out a new Culdcept game, I think it's probably perfect timing. And man, this art, I mean, it kind of reminds me of like a Magna Carta art looking at this again, but really beautiful games. These are pretty, I would say, yeah, on the more complex side, and just more strategy-based games.
I mean, this one is a favorite of many people, early 360. I think, you know, anyone I know that played or had a 360 that early on, they love this game. And Scarole knows exactly what this is.
Oh yeah, chop till you drop. Dead Rising. I can't get the Wii version of this game
I
title.
know. Well, that's one of the ones that later on got that chop till you drop version on Wii. So, you know, obviously that was pretty funny, but which we did get that one too.
Yeah, had to get that one.
But obviously this was an exclusive for 360, and many people's favorite, you know, open world survival horror, action horror, with a, you know, sense of humor, of course, because you had a lot of ridiculous weapons and costumes that you would start wearing going from store to store inside the Willamette Mall, I think it was, if I remember correctly.
I loved getting the Tron head in this game, because I don't know, not that many people know about Tron.
Is that the serve bot?
Yeah,
or
the little
like,
serve bot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's from this like obscure game on the PS1, and I remember seeing that and being like, oh my gosh, finally some kind of Tron callback.
Oh my god, I can't remember how many people I would see with that as their avatar head, like the Servbot from Dead Rising, but it must have been one of the earliest avatars you could unlock.
Yeah, that's very true, but it's funny because it's from like an obscure PS1 game that never really got like a comeback, so Dead Rising kind of brought it back.
Well, that's what, it's one of those things, I've said that before too, like I'm somewhere in the middle on Dead Rising, but I love the fact that they flesh out the characters the way they do, and they do callbacks to previous games, and you'll see that on the later Dead Rising games too. They do that stuff all the time, and and this was where it all started, and Capcom was kind of getting a good relationship with Xbox, I think, because they had another game we'll talk about later that also was a first time exclusive on Xbox 360 and all that stuff, but this is a lot of fun. You still have that time limit, right? That
72 hours.
Yeah, there's like the different game modes. You have to save survivors in the mall, and you have to defeat these psychos. So, yeah, and you obviously have that kind of, experience where you have to save in certain locations, and if you die in between, you have to go back to that save. There's no auto-save. So, it has some consequences, of course, but once you figure out the layout and level up, this is, a pretty fun game, I would say. So it's Frank West at its best, which we saw later on as well. But this is what everyone remembers about Dead Rising. So we have a bit of a double feature here because this was a little bit unusual. Like I said in the beginning, most of the time in 2006, Xbox decided to release the game first in Japan. But this one, they actually released it in the same year. So that's why we're including both of them. And this one has the best name, in my opinion.
It does. Enchant Arm. Not Enchanted Arm.
Which is Enchanted Arms, yes, but it's Enchant Arm. And this is the actual case. It's like kind of sideways. And again, this was an exclusive at the time, like I said. And, it did come out on the PS3 later on. I think the following year, it came out on the PS3. And but we just had to pick this one up because obviously, since I do achievements, I'm very aware of the different stacks and stuff like that. And when you are collecting for these things too, it's something to be on the lookout for. And this was one we saw in Japan, and I didn't actually know it was called Enchant Arm over there. But lots of goodies in here.
Oh, we got lots of little things.
I almost thought that was the Burger King ticket again, but that would be weird.
I mean, the thing is, I think it is some kind of coupon from 2010, 2006.
Burger King in Japan.
So
there you go.
That would be awesome. And I think like a little advertisement and whoa. All right. That's not what I was expecting. So.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't see it, but that's okay. Like, I'm sure I'll see it when I edit the video.
That's one hell of a risque album cover.
Okay, and you flipped it like 3 times, so I guess we can move on.
Yeah, we're going to move on from that. Okay.
But
I was shocked. Sorry, it doesn't have anything to do with the game.
Turn-based strategy game.
Yep, turn-based strategy.
That's something that I thought this was more like Lost Odyssey, but I don't think it is, right? Or is it kind of like that?
Gosh, you know what? This is actually on my list to play next, actually.
I think, now that I remember, it's kind of like more of a grid system in this game.
Ooh.
So it's turn-based combat, but it's more of a grid system. So maybe a mix of Lost Odyssey and Culdcept SAGA.
Well, now you have me excited to play this.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not my type of game, but let's show... This is your sort of collector's edition that we found over here.
Well, I was excited because, when you can find a slipcover for a game that's this old in a sense, that's like in good shape, I mean, good-ish. We have some wear and tear, but looks pretty dang good, for a slipcover. I was pretty excited to find it. Also, there is a 48-page graphic novel in here, too.
Mm-hmm. So. Which is a little bit more... rare to find. We found, I think, the standard one first, and then we upgraded to this one when, I think I've only seen this one time in game stores, so we haven't come across this one very often.
No, we got the Import Tuner Challenge.
Yeah.
And they have it in the Japanese style, but, cool. But it's all translated in English. You can see some Japanese in the background. So, no, very cool that we get to have this complete version of this US version of, in a sense, the Japanese game. So
you would almost think the Japanese would get that one. But
I know.
When you look at the amount of effort that Ubisoft and From Software, we didn't even mention that. This is another From Software game where I think you had mentioned this in between the games here, that they were actually pretty committed to Xbox with Otogi and Chromehounds and then Enchanted Arms, and then suddenly they kind of went to PlayStation with Demon Souls, and you see more multi-platform now, but you almost feel like they've been more leaning towards PlayStation since then.
Yeah, I mean, this is a time where I really enjoyed seeing how Microsoft was going after the Japanese market. They were really trying to get that Japanese market. And so we got a lot more experimental games, more RPGs, more strategy game, more Japanese company kind of collaborations that they were going for. So it was an exciting time, at least if you were like an RPG gamer or a JRPG type gamer. And then also, I don't know, we have time, but I will show exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
here.
I don't usually would think it would be the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, but they get kind of like a silver disc. We get this like blue and white disc. So
yeah,
different.
But still cool to have. I still recommend getting both of these. And I think the prices have come down, especially on the global one. So shouldn't be too terrible, but the Japanese one shouldn't be too expensive. And now we're on to a game that I feel like I've talked about this one so much lately, but people love it though. I say whether we post on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, whatever it is, and also make sure to follow us there too. We never tell people to do this, but follow us everywhere. We have everything in the description. But I talk about this game a lot. People love it. And there's just the one and only.
That is F.E.A.R. First Encounter Assault Recon.
Everyone's favorite first-person action horror at the time. And I've talked about this a lot lately, like I said. People love this one. And it brings out a special kind of memory, I think, when you talk about this game. Because I even remember not even playing 360 that much around that time. And they were talking about this on the news, too. I don't know why they talked about it on the news, but they advertised this whole horror shooter, and it was just so scary, and it was very unique at the time, at least. And it was exclusive on console on the 360 at the time. It came out on PC first in 2005, and then later on, a couple of years later, it came out on PS3 as well. But in between actually coming out on the PS3, or maybe it was a couple of years later, they had a expansion called F.E.A.R Files as well, which was only on 360 physically. So that's an interesting one too. So it's got that early connection with the Xbox 360 for sure. And, it's kind of like a must to play this one, really, if you're into shooters. And, it might get mixed reviews, but whoever I talk to on any kind of social media platform, they absolutely love F.E.A.R, and they can't stop talking about it. They want like a sequel. They want more games. And, funny enough, I have actually played all the F.E.A.R games, and they are very different, but I like them all for their own uniqueness as well. So, this is an early one, so it's got very plain graphics, but even if you play something like this on a Series X, I mean, it does look a little bit sharper, but, it still plays really well on the 360 as well. But yeah, it's a solid first-person shooter, though, in that regard. This is where it started for a lot of people. I know you're going to say that it wasn't the reason you got a 360, but it was one of the reasons you got a 360.
It was one of the reasons I got a 360. That is Gears of War.
Can't believe it's been 20 years since this game came out. That's crazy. But naturally, I didn't play it at the time. I played it a little bit later, so I don't have that nostalgia for the first Gears of War. I love this game, though. It's a fantastic co-op shooter. And, again, like I've said in many videos, it set the standard for the third-person cover shooter, without a doubt. And for some people, there's just no better game out there. There's still got a good amount of jank in this game, too, because it was still an early game. But this is the sole reason the 360, at least hardware-wise, was better than the PS3, because they added more memory. So they actually had 512 megabytes rather than the 256 that PS3 had. And, if you've seen any sort of documentary about that 360 period and why they chose to do it, they really had to convince the higher-ups to go along with this one. But it was so Gears could run optimally on the console. And boy, was it worth it, because you can see later on, too, how the 360 benefited from having more memory. And yeah, this is a fantastic shooter, the absolute classic, and again, one of the most cheapest games you could find. And absolutely you need to have the Gears games in your collection, but this was the one that kind of set it apart and got a lot of people on board with the 360 rather than any other console.
It made Microsoft or Xbox not be so one-dimensional with just their Halo flagship series, but then they added Gears of War. So kind of cemented that they were here for the long run. 2
great series, and yeah, absolutely worth playing. So last game, at least in today's episode, and we've been waiting forever to talk about this one. We might feature this one in a different episode as well, where we kind of look a little bit closer at the exclusives, and especially the weird exclusives. But, you know, this is one that...
this is a weird exclusive.
Definitely, I'll admit, like, I have no idea how it made it into our collection, but, you know, it's here.
Okay, here we go. We have Dead or Alive Xtreme 2. Now... the first one is on OG Xbox, and the 360 got the second one, basically.
Yeah, and you insisted on buying both of these. I had nothing to do with this. Well, I'm just here to talk about the game.
They're a highly collectible game. They often get pretty rare also. And, you know, I was working at GameStop when this one came out, and so it's just one of those memories for me of... carding little kids basically trying to get this game.
It was either this one or like the first one. It probably was this one, right?
I think, yeah, I thought it was the first one, I think in one of our other videos, and then I realized, wait, I didn't work at Xbox during OG Xbox time.
You definitely, yeah, GameStop, you mean, and not Xbox. Yeah. If you worked at Xbox, that would be cool.
I wish. But no, I worked at GameStop during this time, and I remember we also had like pre-order posters that came with this game of the different girls, and I don't know. Something about this game just made me laugh. I could be offended by it as being a female, but instead this one just really cracked me up. And one of the reasons is because you do get to highly customize your girls in this game. You get to choose between like matte lipstick, glossy lipstick. Like, I just thought that was really funny that it really got into the clothing and the makeup and the fingernail polish, and not what I expected.
But as I understand this, like, so this is essentially a vacation sim, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just swimming, playing volleyball, and sunbathing
skiing.
And stuff like that.
Yeah, you're playing games, jet skiing. You do compete with the other girls for fun and rewards, and dress up your girls and go out on the beach and do fun things.
I mean, what's hilarious about this is that I think Gears and this game was like they sandwiched the release of the PS3 and the Wii. And can you imagine the people that got those consoles? You're like, so they have Gears of War and then you have Dead or Alive Xtreme 2. I would love to hear what people felt about this at the time.
Here we go.
It's quite the combo, yeah. So it was, I think, around that time. And I think this Dead or Alive Xtreme 2 came out like right after the PS3 released. And so they're like, yeah, so, you know, I don't know what exclusives the PS3 had at the time, but
we'll cover that in another video.
We might do that, yeah. So overall, this is, like you said, this is an absolute collectible, though. So, you know, it's worth having. I don't know when I'll get around to playing this or how I'll feel about it, but I guess it's just one of those games, a weird exclusive that, yeah, stayed on the 360. So, you know, it might be worth adding it if you don't have this game. If you played any of these games back in the day, or if you're just finding out about these games for the first time, let us know which ones stood out to you and which ones you desperately want to play. And if you want to keep exploring the early Xbox 360 days with us, make sure to check out our launch title video that we made last year. Thank you so much for watching today, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye!